Hello there, my name is Jason Schmaltz and I'm an AMGA rock guide apprentice, and today I'm going to show you how to do a multi-pitch rescue. So this is another part of our rescue series we've been building on, and it's really important to know if you have a climber who's basically incapacitated, how to get them to the bottom of a multi-pitch climb, which requires more than one rappel. So that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm doing this with a gree-gree. You could also do this from baseline. If you were guiding with a tube device, you would have to transfer from the tube device to baseline to start this process, which you can check out one of our other videos that shows how to do that. So first thing I want to do is I want to go hands-free and put a backup knot on my gree-gree so now I can work. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to build a system in which I can rappel down to my partner and basically pick them off and continue down the mountain. So whenever we're going to transfer systems, we want to go ahead and build the system we're going to go to. So I'll put this locker on, and we're going to be leaving this locker behind. In rescue scenarios, sometimes you're just going to be leaving some stuff behind. And now I want to go ahead and build my rappel off of this locker. So it's important for me to extend my rappel so that I can also use a third hand. I'm going to do a basket with an overhand. If you have a different way that you'd like to do the extension, that's fine. What's important is that you extend it. And then off the back end of this carabiner, I'm going to go ahead and put my rappel in. Lock. And then my third hand. And that's biting. Okay. So now I have my system built that I'm going to rappel on. If I want to, I can go ahead and put a backup knot on this. It's not really necessary because a ATC and third hand is considered closed. But I know a lot of you guys like to have that extra sense of security, so that's fine. I have a little bit of slack in the system, which is good. I'll be able to release my gree-gree. And I need to build a ratchet that I can release it onto to transfer the load. So I'm going to use a non-locker on this ratchet. It's a static ratchet, meaning an MMO on one side and then a climb heist on the other side. And I know some of you would like to use a locker here, and definitely feel free, depending on the scenario that you're in. This may be your only choice. So I have my munter. I tied it so it's preloaded on my climber. Now I got a mule, and I don't have to do an overhand. I can just pass the tail through the loop. Push it down so it's locked. So I have my new system I'm going to go on to. I have a backup knot just to make myself feel good. I can take this knot out. I can release the gree-gree onto the ratchet. You can warn your climber if they can hear you that they might drop a couple inches. And I can get my gree-gree out of my system. Next thing I want to do is go ahead and tighten up my rappel because I'm about to transfer my weight onto this rappel. So I want to have it all kind of ready. So go ahead and pull my munter out of the ratchet and lower on to the rappel, and I can pull that through. Now this climb heist I want to keep in the system, okay? As I go down, this is going to help me to pick off my climber, but at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and tie this as a backup. You could leave the munter mule overhand in there if you wanted to. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do an overhand on a bite. And I can tie this to the top of my belay loop, okay? Reason being is if I'm lowering and there was a core shot to the rope and that rope severs between me and the climber, you know, that's probably not going to be a good outcome for them, but at least this keeps me intact. Again, you could use a locker here if you wanted to, depends on what you have in your kit. Anyways, this is what I have. Go ahead and come off my clove. And I can start to rappel. I'll slide this down with me as I rappel. So as I get down to my climber, I have this climb height still in the rope. I'll go ahead and engage that, make sure it's locking. And then this will actually pull them down as I continue to feed slack through the rope, or through the system, through my ATC. Okay, so as you're going down, you want to be looking for the next place that you can build an anchor system. So me and Jacob have been lowering. Jacob is still waiting completely on the system. He's incapacitated. I've been pulling him down with this climb heist. So I get to this tree, or maybe it's a spike or whatever, and that's what I'm going to use next. So again, if you want, you can go ahead, which I probably would, I can go ahead and make an overhand knot here. And I need to make a new anchor system. And typically, in these rescue scenarios, the higher the anchor system is, the better, because then you got some more room to work. So I'll do a surgeon's knot to a square knot. Okay. And I need to continue to be resourceful with my lockers. So we already lost one locker and some slings. And now we're gonna be leaving this behind too. But I'll go ahead and lock that in. And I need to get us onto a system that we can unweight this rappel, okay? So the best way to do that is with the climber's rope that's still attached to me, okay? I have to have a releasable system. So that either needs to be releasable on me or on Jacob. So I'm gonna make it releasable on me, just so I can control it a little bit better. So I'll do a munter. And I'll lock that. Okay, and that's going to hold me in place. And then I can untie my figure of 8. Run it through here. And I'll just do a figure of 8 on a bite. And depending on how incapacitated my partner is, I might have to completely tie it to him, and we'll lock that in. Okay, but this still isn't a fully closed system, right? I just have a munter here, so I need to go ahead and make it a munter mule. With an overhand. Now we're closed, okay? This is what's called a spider, okay? So spider, you have one anchor point going to 2 people, in this case. And now I can go ahead and continue to lower us onto this system. Let's see if I can, just for the camera, get this set right. My backup knot. And now we can unweight this system. And you can see it's important that I made this nice and tight. and kept him close to me, because if I hadn't paid attention to that, he'd be way down there and I wouldn't be able, you know, to manipulate anything on his waist or help him or anything like that. So you want to be kind of mindful of that. And so now the next thing I need to do is go ahead and clean up. So I can go ahead and get rid of this climb heist. I can take my rappel out. And I can take my third hand out. And so it's important to kind of be keeping track of my ends here. So we have both ends now on Jacob. So we need to pull one of them to get our rappel back. So we're not going to pull the end that's got us hooked in, so we need to pull the other end. So if he could go ahead and untie his figure of 8. If he couldn't do that, obviously I would do it for him, and then we'll pull the rope. In this case, I can go ahead and start. So if you're unsure where to start, just go to the back side of your Munter Mule overhand and start pulling. One good technique to do to kind of have your next rappel pre-rigged is take a bite, put it through the anchor, and pull the rope until you see the halfway point get here.
Rope's open?
Yep. Yeah, he can leave the rope open because we're going to pull it through the anchor above. So once we get to the middle mark, I'll continue to pull the rope, but on the other side. And now I've gotten to my end. I can go ahead and close it if I'm going to do another multi-pitch rappel. If I'm going to the ground, I know it's going to be closed by hitting the ground, then I don't need to close it. So I go ahead and get this ready, toss it. I can't toss our other end yet because we still have it in place. So we need to get on to now our new rappel. So I will go ahead and put my ATC device in. Grab with my third hand. Okay, I'll close the system, but if I want to make myself feel good, I can go ahead and do an overhand down here on both strands. Okay, and now I need to transfer our weight onto this system. So to do that, I've made the system that we're currently on releasable with the Munter Mule overhand. So before I release my system, I need to connect Jacob to my rappel so that we can rappel in tandem. So hopefully your partner or you have an extra sling or something that you can connect one another to. I like to do tandem rappel with them hooked into my basket. Other people like to hook them to the carabiner. I guess it's kind of personal preference. And I'll girth hitch him. And I like to use a 120 centimeter sling because we're separated a little bit. It is important that I have him, at the end of the day, hooked somewhere away from me so he's not pulling on my hip, okay? But this is kind of where I like to have him. So he's on this system now, although it's not weighted yet, and we're gonna weight it by undoing the munter. And there we go. So now it's weighted. I can go ahead and grab the figure of 8. Undo it so I can pull it through. Undo my munter. Close my system again. And I can go ahead and toss my second strand. And now we're rappelling in tandem. So obviously if I have more multi-pitch rappels to do, you would basically just repeat that process over and over again until you got to the bottom. It's good to practice this. You can see we're practicing this in a horizontal setting. Okay, so if I mess up, it's easy to get out of. Jacob just stands right back up. I'd recommend doing that before you go out and practice this in real life. I'd probably start in horizontal and then maybe in like a class 3 type environment, and then maybe think about, you know, practicing or using it in a multi-pitch scenario. You can definitely get caught if the person is really weighting the system the whole time and you mess up and have to get into a complicated haul. So be careful about that. Practice really makes perfect in this one. So, hey, I hope you found that useful for multi-pitch rappel rescue, and continue to watch our series on rescue techniques in a multi-pitch setting. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you out on the crag.